Does everybody have a copy of this right here? It says, God doesn't need our help, but He wants to give us a part. Now, this is, I did kind of just a summary overview, little outline of a teaching last week by video. That was kind of fun to do. Got out of the house when it was about 12 degrees outside. But I just wanted to make, and I may give some fuller thoughts about that at some point, but this is just kind of a summary of the outline that I did on that little short tape. And I just want to make one quick point about this, and then we're going to dive into some thoughts that God has given me for today. But if you could go to page 3 where it says, for a veteran minister, I mean, for people who've been doing this for a while. And the scene that I just want to make a quick comment about is this is where Peter, James, and John went up on the Mount of Transfiguration. And this is after they've been walking with Jesus 24 hours a day for almost 3 years. You know, how many of us, if there's somebody we really respect who's like a spiritual patriarch, says, gosh, if I could just sit down with them for an hour and, you know, ask them some questions. These guys had been around Jesus 24 hours a day for almost 3 years. I mean, that's an opportunity very few people in the history of mankind have had. Would you agree with me about that? So you would think, and what we were talking about last time, we can't get saved without God's grace. We cannot save ourselves. But once we get saved, He wants to give us a part. When we start our ministry, we cannot do any of the things. How many people can save somebody here? None of us. How many people can get them delivered? None of us. How many people can get people healed? None of us. But that's the job description that God gave us. So we can't do anything about that. But God gives us, He gives us a part. And we talked about that some. But the point that I want to make for people like us who've been doing this for a while, and we're all learners. I mean, you know, maybe we've gone from the first half of first grade to second grade. You see what I'm saying? Well, none of us have arrived. Amen? We are sojourners with a long, long way to go following Jesus. But the point that I want to make here is when these three guys went up on the Mount of Transfiguration and Jesus is there and this heavenly encounter opens up, where, as we're familiar with, Elijah and Moses were also there, and Peter gets something very backwards. I thank God for Peter, for all the things that he did right and for the things where he messed up. And we can learn from them both, right? Because we all make mistakes. I've said KR, Knox Ross Theology 101, I thank God he's bigger than my mistakes. But anyway, what they say, the first thing that comes out of Peter's mouth is, let us make. When his first response to this heavenly encounter was, what can I do? But if the whole point of this lesson is we can't do anything, but if we get connected with God, then He'll give us a part. We need to have that order correct, right? In this, the point that I want to make about this, Matthew 7, 4 and 5, is what's first here is Peter's attempt to do something out of his own efforts. He is an experienced minister at this point. Would you agree? And you know what God says? Peter, let's don't get this backwards. I've got something real simple. Let's get the first things first. Here's my son. Listen to him. And he'll tell you what you can do. Amen? While he was still speaking, yeah, God interrupted Peter. How many of us would like God to interrupt us when we're saying something stupid? Yes, all the above. So anyway, so what I'm saying is we want to make sure whether we have just gotten saved, we're just starting ministry, or we think we've been doing this for a while. In fact, I think it's almost more important that if we've been doing this for a while, that we are very, very aware that we can do nothing apart from Him. If Jesus said, I can't do anything unless the Father tells me, that better be the paradigm about how we go about every day, every church service to the best of our ability. Amen? Amen. Food for thought. Let's dive into some things for today, okay?